Oh my god, Act 5. This freaking Archon Quest was so good. I would totally make another Genius of the Fontaine Archon Quest video of everything up to Act 5, but my brain is coming up empty right now. Or perhaps it's not as exciting as what I'm doing now. Regardless, I'll still be expressing those exact same sentiments in this video. Today I want to talk about Furina in particular because I must formally acknowledge that this is perhaps the best character story that Hoyo has ever made. Seriously, Furina is just an incredible character. Furina came into the story with high expectations, but contrary to what we'd normally expect from an Archon, we didn't quite get what we signed up for. Of course, this led to some mixed opinions from the fanbase. Some didn't like her at all, others were curious, and a whole bunch of opinions happened in the lead up to the end. But of course, those feelings were always based on an incomplete understanding. Nobody really knew what was happening, and that includes even the characters in-universe like Arlecchino and Neuvillette. However, now her secret is out, and I have to say, wow. I've never been so surprised at how perfect the explanations were for a seemingly unsolvable personality. Or maybe I find it unsolvable, but some of you lore masters out there are pumping your chest saying, "Ha! It was so obvious, I knew it all along." You know, for the rest of us, for me, I wasn't in that camp. During Fontaine's Act 5, we had perhaps one of the best executed presentations of a character story in Furina's inner world. They really nailed the concept of show don't tell by showing us everything. Clear details and emotional storytelling. I really can't say enough good things about the Furina flashback. Now, one particular event during the flashback inspired this video. It was a scene where she was talking to Traveler inside the magic box, and then we heard her inner thoughts and how she arrived at the conclusion to not tell us anything. Now that we understand her story and saw the truth about her, it changes everything. And I mean literally everything. Every past Furina scene now has completely new meanings to interpret, and that's what we're going to do today in this video. Very rarely does a character make you go back and rewatch their every scene in the story just to get a new understanding of them. And this is why Furina just might be the best character in Genshin Impact so far. Let's begin with the opening cutscene. Furina greets the Traveler for the first time with a very openly grand and boastful attitude. Now that we know she's playing the role, it gets depressing real quick. It wasn't her that raised the idea of fighting the Traveler, rather it was the audience.
Lady Furina came here to personally see him. Oh, I bet this is going to be the duel of the century.
Oh, I've got to see this. I knew Lady Furina would never disappoint.
Furina then felt the pressure to impress her people by promising a duel before it backfired on her in embarrassing fashion. The Traveler was actually willing to throw hands right away, and that was it. Furina couldn't fight, so she tried to make an excuse. Then there was the bogus criminal charge, which could be best described as trying to trigger the grand trial she was promised. So you have this Traveler from another world going around and allegedly saving nation after nation from disaster, and now they're here. There doesn't seem to be a better candidate to star in this grand trial, so you decide, oh my god, now's my chance to save Fontaine. And then Lyney foils your plan with the balloon trick. Both your attempts to play the god has failed in your initial meeting. You decide to retreat to the Opera Epiclese. It's no big deal. There's plenty of opportunities to advance the plan. Let's enjoy Lyney's magic show and... Oh my god, somebody just died. A girl disappeared. The show was ruined. The people are watching you as the Hydro Archon. You can't make them doubt your power, so you need to act decisively. And then you go and accuse Lyney because maintaining the act is more important. If people start to doubt you and disbelieve your godhood, it's over. Unfortunately though, the people have so much faith in Furina that she's forced to take this gamble. Then the Traveler volunteers to defend Lyney in court. Whoa, could this be the climactic trial? Well, whatever it is, you need to win. Can't have the god of justice lose a battle of justice after all.
As such,
Linny and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
And then she lost. You were devastated. You were humiliated. You were wrong and defeated in front of your own followers. But hey, look on the bright side. You were able to blame Vaughn for falsifying evidence. The good old blame your teammates trick. And after this is, shall we say, the beginning of the end, because it only gets worse in Act 2. Ever since you lost that trial, you've had to be more careful when jumping to conclusions. Better to say nothing than open your mouth and say the wrong thing. You were just hanging out at the Vache Tartaglia trial until...
Mr. Tartaglia is guilty.
The Oratrice ruled child guilty? What? Oh no, everybody's staring at you again. Did the Oratrice get it wrong? No, it can't be wrong. Even if it was, you can't let the people know. The Oratrice is supposed to be your creation. You need to keep this lie going. You need to make sure to crush all doubt by any means necessary. And let's be honest, Furina probably thinks of her own explanation as a terrible one, but she has no other choice. She just hopes that it can keep the act going a little longer. There was also the issue of the primordial seawater becoming public knowledge. The prophecy is coming. You desperately hope Focalors is getting close to solving the issue because your investigation keeps coming up empty. But this will soon be the least of your worries because what happens next is arguably the most traumatic event in Fontaine's Archon Quest. Yeah, we're talking about Arlecchino's assassination attempt in the city. I mean, it was already bad when we saw it for the first time, but now it's much, much worse. You're out playing with cats at night, which, let's face facts, being as traumatized as you are, you'll need any source of comfort you can get. But all of a sudden, Arlecchino jumps you in the middle of the freaking city. And, well, it was originally supposed to be an assassination attempt. There's nothing you can do. You stand zero chance in a fight. You can't call for help. You can't run. Like, you can't do anything in that situation. If you die, it's over. If anybody sees you, it's over. If the people of Fontaine find out, it's over. Maybe it's already over because Arlecchino discovered you're not a real god. Maybe Arlecchino is gonna tell somebody. Like, could you imagine being Furina in that situation? Your entire country might end up destroyed over this one little incident, and you can't act your way out of it. And after that incident, she was acting strange and avoiding Arlecchino and probably crying every single night because she might have just doomed Fontaine altogether with all of that work completely gone to waste. Like, it just says something about this character when perhaps the most traumatizing moment for them happened off screen. A few weeks of suffering pass and, well, looks like the charade is still going. Ironically enough, Arlecchino is choosing to stay quiet about it, and still acknowledges you as an Archon. Wow, you dodged a bullet. Then we get to the scene with Arlecchino meeting with Furina and the Traveler. Look, from Arlecchino's perspective, her anger made sense. Furina isn't the god you were expecting, and now the prophecy is coming true, and she doesn't have anything with which to assure the people at all. However, from Furina's perspective, like, wow. If the act fails and Fontaine gets destroyed, it would technically be Arlecchino's fault. Plus, you know the truth behind your own actions and she doesn't. How could anybody tell you that you failed to take action when this entire freaking act that you put up for the last 5 centuries and all of this suffering was to prevent this prophecy? No, you can't believe that the suffering was all for nothing. Your entire existence is inherently against that idea. Like, come on. If you concede it's for nothing, then you've been doing this for nothing too. Fontaine would have just been doomed from the very beginning. Like, your entire existence depends on rejecting that notion. And, well, at some point, you might have understood the situation, and that Arlecchino couldn't prove anything. She didn't expose you for being a fraud, and your life is technically safe now. So then you stood up and told her off. I think that was more self-assurance than anything, because Furina herself doesn't know the plan. She could never bring herself to face the idea that her sacrifices were for nothing, and so she allowed her pain to speak for her there. Those thoughts, that idea would be far more terrifying than the charade itself. And then we come full circle and arrive back at Act 5. Poisson has been flooded, and now even Neuvillette, he's starting to confront you too. The newly discovered information that's being brought to your attention is all brand new, like, really. Your only response is empty ignorance, which sucks. You need Neuvillette to get off your back immediately, so you invoke your authority and run away. People are dying now, and the pressure is cranking up. You really can't take it anymore, so you have no choice but to run. Oh, then a few days later, you end up facing an angry mob of protesters in the theater whose cries of anger are all fully justified. Yeah, it's all falling apart. You then run away to Poisson. You look at the pool of primordial seawater, and dark thoughts flow through your mind. Like, at this point, the situation is getting out of hand and your excuses are no longer working. Everybody is getting frustrated with you, even Udex Neuvillette. Then we arrive at the scene with the Traveler, which we already got the perspective coverage from the flashback. But there's still one more traumatic event you have to go through, your own trial. Honestly, you feel a little hopeful. With all the preparations set and all the build up this moment, this just might be the climactic trial that saves everybody. However, as the trial goes on, you slowly realize you're going to lose. They are trying to expose you as a fraud. But it's not only that. What hurts the most is that your own people are now treating you like a criminal. Nobody is on your side anymore, and you're completely alone. You even considered dissolving by touching the seawater sample just to keep the act going to the very end. Or maybe you just can't take it anymore. One could only imagine the thoughts that went through her head when staring at the water. That was it, the end of the road. If Fontaine is screwed anyway, she can't bear the hatred directed at her, should she refuse and lose the trial. But it turns out the unbearable scenario came anyway, because that seawater was diluted. The worst case scenario happened, and, well, after a while it was all over. Your mind has reached its limit, and then everything fell silent. You were ruled guilty, and you've gone completely blank. Everything that happened after, the death ruling from the Oratrice, the stone slates, learning the prophecy, the all-devouring narwhal, none of that mattered. You were weeping alone on your throne. In the most cruel and twisted way, Furina had to lose everything before Focalors could set her plan in motion and avert the prophecy. And well, that's technically the end of the hindsight analysis. Everything just hits way harder now that you understand the context, doesn't it? Of course, then there's the story quest, and you know what? I really liked Furina's story quest, but the Furina mains community has pointed out how poorly we, the Traveler, treated Furina throughout the whole thing. I'm not going to spend too much time on this last point though, but long story short, the Traveler was pretty insensitive towards her depression at the beginning, and Furina is still unfairly hated. Speaking for in-universe terms, Furina is easily the most overhated and underappreciated Archon out of all the 5 we met so far. Remember the end of Sumeru Act 5 and Nahida had that victory party where everybody was celebrating and acknowledging everybody's heroic actions? Yeah, that makes me sad. Please, the full truth needs to come out. I would think it's a travesty for Fontaine to get the happy ending, but Furina is still denied her rightful recognition. Especially for Poisson, because the people of Poisson still don't know the truth, but that's likely going to be Navia's story quest territory, so that's a topic for another video. From the beginning, I was never quite a Furina hater, but I do concede my expectations of her were quite low for a while. I would have never expected her to leave this strong of an impression on me, so now she's one of my favorite characters. But anyways, that's the end of this video. Feel free to comment any thoughts you have, like and subscribe if you wish to see more videos like these, and as always, I'll see you all in the next one.